good.
Here it is.
Yes, we're live. Should I introduce the show, Archie?
1 minute, 59 seconds. We start, and let's get people get back in. Let me send out the link to my marketing team. Let's make it happen.
How about some Pink Floyd?
Uh-oh. Archie, am I going to open this up or what?
Yeah. When we go live, I'll get on. All right, JC, you ready?
All right, let's do it.
All right, Tom, here we go.
All right. How you guys doing? This is JC Llamas here in the HAMMERFIST podcast, and today we have a special, one of the best, the biggest name of MMA history right here. We have the one and only Ken Shamrock in the house, ladies and gentlemen. Woo!
There he is, the man. Welcome.
How you doing, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you guys for having me on, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you, man. And also I have one of the biggest hosts right here, my homie Tom and Archie Tovar right here from the MMA Fight Pass. Today we have an amazing interview. Man, we've been trying to get this interview for years, and finally, the stars line up, and we got Ken Shamrock. Man, thank you so much for being here, Ken. And we have a lot of questions that we're gonna ask you, and I'm pretty sure all the fans, they want to know everything. I've been watching a lot of your videos, man. Like I just saw like the Pancrase versus 1, 2, and 3 versus Bas Rutten.
Yeah.
And oh man, I keep watching it over and over and over again, man. Leg locks. You know my nickname, right? The leg lock monsters. A lot of those videos, I got it from you, man. Thank you, man. Thank you.
Nice.
Yes, man, my pleasure, man. My pleasure. I love them.
I love your little studio right there. Is that your pad or what?
Yeah. It's my trophy room. It's kind of where I go and I watch my football games, baseball, all my stuff. It's my man cave.
Nice.
Hey, are those the original UFC belts right there behind you?
Yes, they are. Those are the first 2 that were handed out. Yeah, single fight.
That's something else. That's sick, brother. That is sick. Hey, man, you are looking good, bro.
Thank you. Yeah. It's for me, it's a way of life, man. Even when I got to a point to where I wasn't in the ring fighting anymore, I still felt like I was missing something by not, going to the gym and training and doing something to keep my body in shape.
Right.
Definitely doing it. Well, first off, my brother, I just want to really thank you for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy, and you got a busy lifestyle. We're a new show. We haven't been around too long, and I want to thank you for taking the time to come onto our show today, man. Really appreciate it. It's a true honor, man.
Hey, listen, again, man, I just appreciate it, man. And, Lamas is a good fighter, man. I got to come on for my boy.
There's a connection right there.
Hey, man, we had to run back the my Richmond JC Llamas, man. I gotta whoop this guy's butt, man. I have to, man. It's right here on my top of my head. I need to whoop this guy's butt. So, question number 1, Ken, when is BK2?
Yeah, we unfortunately, we were off and rolling. We had some great fights, great fighters, and we had a lot of guys stacked up waiting to come on. Unfortunately, with this COVID thing, it really threw a wrench in there. On our second one, when we were trying to do it, we ran into some complications with the, I don't know, I guess it was a fire code. I'm not sure all the details on it, but what had happened was that there was also some not only just with the fire code in the way the seating was, but there was also some questions about our rules too, and that they were talking about maybe putting gloves on and cutting the knuckles out, and something that some other ones were doing, and we just felt like we needed to stick to who we are. Like, we're bare knuckle, pure bare knuckle. There's no tape on the hands. There's nothing on the hands. It's bare knuckle, and so we're not gonna change that. If by chance we go somewhere and they're requiring us to do something other than what our rule sets are, then we won't do it. Unfortunately, with this, we were told we could do one thing, and then some other things came up with some seating and the fire code, and then of course the different rules that we had. They wanted us to change them to a point, and so we just decided, we're going to stick to who we are, and we're going to go to places that we know we can actually be who we are. So to answer that, we are looking at either the end of 2020 and probably more realistically the beginning of 2021. So it's not like we haven't been working on this. We know that this is going to be big. We know this. Our pit, our rules, even with the compression pants, everything that we do with the way that this is set up, we know it has the ability to be successful, unlike anything out there. So, and bare knuckles always been something that I think that people have truly fallen in love with. When this first came out with the mixed martial arts, it was a bare knuckle that drew people in. It was the no rules that drew people in. So we understand that, and we know it's something that's going to take off. But we also know that we don't want to jump in and go and start changing who we are just to satisfy different places. So we're going to make sure wherever we go that we're able to do what we do.
Something that I'm really impressed is that, like, for being the number one, like the first fight ever for BK, Battle Bare Knuckle, it just went from zero all the way competing to the biggest organizations. Some of the YouTube videos, like for example, my fight versus my Royman, whatever that guy name is, that fight got almost 500,000 views in YouTube. You know what I mean? And wow. It was barely the first Battle Bare Knuckle. You know what I mean? Like, imagine in like a year or two, like, we were competing versus some of the biggest organizations on views and streams. I can see, like, I just can see can get better than this. Like, this is gonna get better. Like, just it took by a storm. So I'm really happy that I was part of, like, one of the first fighters ever in Battle. Man, that's awesome.
Yeah, we look forward to having you back too, because we think that there's definitely a rematch there for that, because people loved it. So we're definitely we're working on it, and we're going to make sure it happens. So right now, just understand this, that when Valor does take off, and that we've basically stood to our guns. We're not going to change. We're not going to put tape on the hands. We're not going to put a glove on there and cut out the knuckles. We're not going to play any of that stuff. We are going to be who we are, bare knuckle, pit fighting. You'll step into pit, you'll fight the way the rules are set. And that's who we are. And we know right now with what we've already put out that the fans love it. So we're going to keep moving forward with it. So look forward either at the end of 2020 or the beginning of 2021. We have got some venues we're looking at right now, and we're actually putting together some contracts for some of those venues to make sure that we don't have any problems like we had before where they changed the rules on us. So we're going to put it in contract. So when it's signed and done, we know that they can't change it. So look forward to it, man. We're looking forward to it also.
Man, I can't wait.
JC, what was it like fighting in that pit style of ring? I didn't realize it doesn't have any kind of barrier, right?
Yeah, so I love it, man.
How does that work?
Honestly, we didn't know that we were gonna find a pit until the day of the event, and Yeah, like the first thing I remember was like a Jean-Claude Van Damme from back in the days. That's the first thing
Kumite.
Yeah.
I was like, man, this is awesome.
That's
Oh
what
my
it reminds me of.
I was thinking on my head, I'm gonna punch him so hard on the second or third round that I'm gonna make him fly off the pit, man. That was my goal. Like on the third round, like just go like crazy and knock him off the pit, man. That was my goal. But the fight only lasted one round, man. So I couldn't like. I told everybody, man, if you go to my interviews, but all my interviews say like on the first and second round, I'm gonna go like light, take it easy. In the third round, I'm gonna knock this guy out. You're gonna see on the third round, I'm gonna knock his ass out. And we didn't go to the third round, but my goal was to like knock him off the pit, man. When I saw the pit, I was like, I gotta knock him off the pit, and I have to be the first one to do this.
Well, you know, when we set that up and we put the pit in there, we knew going in that it was going to be a trial situation where not for us, but for the fighters to figure out how it works. Because when you're in a pit like that and it's something completely different, like in the octagon, when the cage came out, there were so many things that people didn't understand on how to use it. And so I think as fighters go in the pit, they'll start understanding how to use the pit. And I think that was the biggest disadvantage going into this first event for all fighters was the fact is of how do we use this pit to our advantage.
Right. And you know something funny? In my gym, I made a little pit like with the same dimensions of the Valor Bernacle pit, the exactly same measurements, same everything, so I can practice. Because when I was there, like for people that doesn't know, it's really small. You do one or two steps, you're already out of the pit. So I didn't know I was gonna be fighting in the pit. So a couple of times when I was fighting, I was stepping out of bounds like maybe 4 or 5 times because it's so close. They kind of like make you stay in the pocket and fight and have better movement. I have great head movement, but 1 or 2 steps out, I was already out. So I was, you know what? I cannot step out of the pit no more. So I made that in my gym. So my next fight, I'm gonna force my guy to go out of bounds.
Well, we knew this was going to be an issue, but at the same time, we knew we had to enforce it so that when people come back to fight, they know they have to stay in the middle. And the thing with this is, and we understand it, when you're fighting and you're used to fighting within a cage or ropes, you know when you step back that you can use that to bounce off of and be able to spin your opponent out. But when it's not there, it's hard to change that because you're stepping back, waiting to hit the rope or waiting to hit the fence to try to spin out and get your opponent moving forward and catch him at an angle. The problem is there's no ropes there. There's no fence there. So you got to retrain yourself to think, okay, I have to stop and turn my momentum myself.
Right. That puts a lot of pressure on the fighter.
100%.
Ken, do you ever get guys flying out of the ring?
Well, we had one. I mean, I think Mo went face first. Yeah. Yeah. So it was, but again, like I said, I think for the first one, I thought it was really, it responded well because my thought for this pit was I wanted guys to not have to be forced into a fight on the edges, like bouncing into a rope or a fence and then laying up on there and then being able to just block and rest. I wanted the pit to be something where you stepped in it, you had to be fighting at all times. There's nowhere to rest. There's nowhere to lay up and play rope-a-dope. So the design of that pit was twofold. One, that when the fighters came to fight, they had to fight. They can't lay on a rope. They can't lay on a fence. There's nowhere to go to actually rest or help yourself be able to defend. And number two, the visual for the fans to be able to sit there. If they had the front row seats or on the floor, they had the best view in the house. The tickets that they bought, the money was well worth it.
No,
most definitely.
You know, until this day, Ken, I have a lot of new friends from North Dakota, from the venue, man. A lot of people from there, like, when are you coming back? When are you coming back? It was a great show. You guys need to come back. So honestly, I think it was like a great experience for me personally. It was a great experience. I met a lot of new friends from there, and until right now, this moment, I actually just shipped some merchandise to some of them all the way there from the fight. Like, so this is really good, man. We got to bring it back. We have to.
Yeah, and we're, like I said, I just want people to know that we're not going anywhere, man. We're here. We're just putting it together very professionally.
Nice.
Ken, do you ever see this coming to California?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. California, Nevada. I was involved in the very beginning of the UFC when it was bare knuckle, no rules, anything goes. And it was the same thing. People come after you and tell you it's too brutal, it's too violent. But yet now we have actual medical proof to back up bare knuckle that it's not more violent. It's actually more safer in a sense that you don't take as much punishment to your brain. Maybe cuts, maybe blood, maybe visually. Yeah, it's maybe worse. But when you come to the internal stuff, the brain damage, it's not. So we'll be able to move forward a little bit faster than the actual no holds barred era did because of the medical science that we have behind it now. So we won't run into as many obstacles as states blocking us out for any reason other than they just don't want to allow it because they can't say it's unsafe.
Can you explain the difference? Because a lot of people, they see, as soon as they see bare knuckle, exactly what you just said, they think it's more brutal and this and that. With the brain damage in the gloves and bare knuckle versus the glove, can you explain that a little bit, Ken?
Yeah, my pleasure. I fought in all of it. I fought kickboxing. I fought a Lodman over in Japan. He was a former world Muay Thai kickboxing champion. I fought him in kickboxing. I've also fought boxing, amateur boxing. I've also fought bare knuckle, and I've also fought with the 4-ounce gloves. And every step that I fought in, I have always felt like bare knuckle was it felt more pure to me because whenever you threw a punch, you knew it counted. But at the same time, you couldn't throw a punch and miss because if you missed with bare knuckle, you would hurt your hand. And so therefore, you had to ease up on it a little bit and be a little bit more accurate with your striking to make sure you hit your target. And then if you had a guy hurt, then you could go ahead and lay him in. So it was more professional when it came to the bare knuckle part of it. When you put gloves on somebody, now you're saying, okay, I'm going to wrap your hands. You put tape on it. Then you can put padding over the top of it. And now I can hit you no matter where it is, lands in the head and knock you out and not hurt my hand. So therefore, I'm going to punch you 100 times in a fight as opposed to probably 20, 30 in a bare knuckle fight. So if you talk about the brain that's in the fluid in your head, and that fluid, and it's bouncing off in that head, bouncing off your wall in your head 100 times. That's crazy. That's a lot of damage as opposed to what, 15 to 20?
That's some scientific.
And with less power, normally, like for example, me personally, whenever you fight, like just like Ken was saying, I don't hit as hard as I can because I know if I miss, I'm gonna break my hand. So I kind of hold back a little bit of power, like maybe like 70-80%, because I know if I put in block, I hit the elbow, I hit the top of the head, I'm gonna end up with a broken hand. In boxing glove, I hit 120%, boom, because I know I have padding. I have padding, and if I miss, it's okay. I have a lot of padding and also wraps on there. So I think it's cosmetic wise, it looks bad, but but it's safer. Like I know it's safer because like you don't get as many hits. And if you get some hits, there's not as powerful as the one that you get in boxing or MMA.
Well, and I feel like whenever I'm fighting in that, and I'm in a situation where I'm punching and I'm getting hit, the one mental thing that works for me as a fighter is I know if a guy hits me in the forehead or the side of the head, it may hurt, but I know that it hurt him. As opposed to if the guy had a glove on, he hit me in the side of the head, it still hurt me, but mentally I know he didn't get hurt with that. So bare knuckle, I'm going, yeah, go ahead, keep hitting me there. Because I know he's going to hurt his hand, and then I'm going to take over on him. So all I got to do is make sure I guard my chin and my nose and keep my head tucked and let him go ahead and throw those punches. And I just keep working inside on him until his hand gets to where he can't punch anymore, and I finish him.
Now, Ken, a big question that we're getting from a lot of our guests and people that fight out there and people that train. One of our guests, Vanessa Sanchez. Ken, how do you decide who fights for your show?
Well, I don't. We have a matchmaker in Todd Middendorf and Richard Goodman who work together on putting the card together and getting the venues. So they're the ones that decide. I guess I'm just the face. I mean, it's my idea. I designed the pit. I came up with the organization, the bare knuckle, and then I brought my team in to help me actually put it on. Because guys like Todd and Richard are just valuable. And then, of course, my partners behind the scenes who are coming in and working with me to help push this thing in a professional direction.
And those guys seem to be getting the job done.
Man. Richard is a great matchmaker. What I like about Richard is that he's very neutral, man. Like he makes sure like the fights are pretty fair for both sides. So that's what I like. There's some matchmakers out there that they just want their guys to win, you know. And those fights ended up wrong. So that's what I like about Richard. He's very fair on that part.
Nice. Hey, Ken, we have one for you. You know, there's a lot of fans and audience that have followed you for quite a few years. You're an OG legend. You know, I know that you can't choose one, but can you just, and maybe quickly, your top 5 best belts memories, you know, from either Pride, UFC, WWF, you know, where the roads have taken you, right?
Yeah. You know, I've been blessed in a lot of areas to where I've been able to be involved with some great companies. But I think that the ones that really will stand out and that are kind of dear to me are the ones where I was able to kind of try to be a pioneer, blaze a trail. So I would say, you know, obviously over in Japan, before it was here, they did a 2-day tournament, a 16-man tournament for people all over the world to crown their first champion in Pancrase. And I won that. And I remember fighting my teacher, which was Funaki, Masakatsu Funaki, in the first round. And I ended up beating him. And then from that time on, I believed that I was going to win the whole thing because I thought he was going to be my toughest one because, you know, he trained me. So I thought he knew everything I was going to do. But I actually, going into that tournament, I changed a lot of my setups and a lot of my entrances. And so to keep him off balance so he didn't know what was coming. I would have to say, you know, also too, you know, being in the UFC and being able to fight in the very first super fight with Royce Gracie. Unfortunately, there was no judges, but I think anybody that watches it knows who won the fight. And then gone and fighting Dan again to actually capture the belt, a guy who had won two super fight tournaments, and then came in to fight me, and then I basically just destroyed him. So that one there is pretty special for me. So I think that those 2 belts, because they were the first and will always remain that, are special.
Wow, some amazing. You know, you only get to hear and read about it now, but now we're listening to it. From
amazing memories, man. Amazing memories. Tom, Ken, we have another question from one of our partners in the MMA Fight Pass, and Jet Whitworth. Thank you for joining us, brother. Ken, and I was also wondering this myself. In MMA, is bare knuckle the future of MMA, Ken? Do you ever see that happening?
I do, because I think as the human race, we're always pushing the envelope. We want more excitement, and we want things to happen fast. And when you put gloves on people, I think you slow it down. I think that the design of the pit and the way that you're not able to get on a rope and be able to move and rest, you know, and because a lot of guys won't attack when a person gets on the rope because they know they're setting them up. But when there's no rope and you have to continue to keep fighting, it's an advantage to the guy that's being the aggressor. If you back up to the edge, the aggressor is going to be the one that's going to get the points because you can't bounce off the rope or do any of that. So I think with the pit and with the way that people are loving how fast bare knuckle is, because every punch counts. You can hit a guy 7, 8, 9, 10 times with an MMA glove on, right? And nothing's going to happen. You know, especially if they're tough, they're going to be able to keep going. But if you hit a guy 7, 8, 10 times with a bare knuckle, they're going down, or the guy's going to break his hand. Something's going to happen, right? So that's what makes these fights so exciting. And I would not for a second think that in the future we might see the gloves completely gone.
Wow.
I can see it happening. Hey, Ken, what is the format for people that don't know with the rounds and the time limits with the bare knuckle?
What's that?
The rounds, how long are the rounds? Or are there rounds, or is it just one round? Are there multiple rounds?
Yeah, no, it's 3-minute rounds right now. And that we're starting out that way. And I want to keep it that way because I think that as long as you keep the rounds short, you know, like 3 rounds, and you keep the time short, you're going to have more action. And I think because it's bare knuckle, you don't want to see guys get cut open and sliced up and blood pouring everywhere too much. So I think we got to keep that down to a minimum. There's no serious damage, but it just looks bad, right? But for title fights, I'm looking at going 5 3-minute rounds for the title shots. But right now we're going to stick with the tournament style. And then as we start building this, and it will, because even with what we have going on behind the scenes and building our platforms behind the scenes, we're getting flooded with fans. So we know when we launch this thing, we're going to come right out of the gate barn burning. So we're looking forward to it. But I do believe that this is what people want. It's what people want, man. They want to see action. They don't want to wait for it.
You're right.
Exactly. I think you're right about that. That's awesome, man. I'm still just stoked to be here chatting with Ken Shamrock.
Ken, I have a question.
JC, I gotta say one thing, JC. Hey, dude, you got a lot of fucking fans, bro.
Yeah.
Good
Well,
Lord.
I've been doing this since '89. You know, I started over in Japan, and then I did some stuff here in the States with some tough mans, and so I've been at this a long time. And when I started fighting with the UFC here in the States, you know, I jumped right into the main. After the first event, I was right in the main spotlight. I was the face of the organization. So I've had a long time in a lot of different organizations being in the main event, and the fans have followed me all along. And I've always said this, man, and I believe it with my heart, that athletes and celebrities do not understand how bad that we need the fans. The fans are what make everything go.
Wow. What a statement right there to hear that from a legend. And you're right. You know, the fans, I mean, it's just like a paycheck, right? It's a job, and everybody needs each other. We need the entertainment. You know, the paycheck's there for the athletes, and it's just, that's how the world goes. But you're exactly right. That's amazing.
That's crazy.
I have one question that a lot of people ask me really quick, Ken. Like, I have at least 10 people ask me this question. If you have the chance to fight in the next couple months, one more person, who would you like to fight and why?
If it was, I'm not sure. Is it bare knuckle or is
Anything.
it MMA? Anything.
Anything
Yeah.
goes.
And
Yeah.
why?
Hoist Gracie, no question, because me and him, for whatever reason, it seems to be that my opportunity to do the things that I wanted to do had always been questioned, or question things that have been done during those times. You know, the first time they took my shoes away, I know people laugh at that. I go, well, what do you need shoes for? That's what they fight without them now. But back when they did this was no rules, no time limit, anything goes. And I came from an organization where you wore wrestling shoes. And prior to that, I wrestled in high school. And so anytime that I've ever stepped on any competitive surface, it was with wrestling shoes. And then to be able to step onto the canvas with no shoes on for the first time ever was very difficult, because it was like icy. I mean, it was like slipping on ice. But nevertheless, I did it, no problem. And then I got to fight him again. And then they put a time limit in there and no judges. And so then I go in and I actually beat him, but yet it's a draw because there's no judges, even though his face blew up like a balloon. Then I fight him the third time, and he knees me in the groin, and it wasn't an accident. He did it on purpose because he knew that this fight wasn't going to go where he wanted it to. Wow. And so he ended up kneeing me in the groin. And so that's always been one of my things throughout my career. I am happy with everything that I've done. I've got no beef. But that is the only thing that makes me angry, is the fact that he was satisfied with the outcome of that last fight.
Would you like to fight him MMA, bare knuckle, boxing, or kickboxing?
No, MMA, because that's what he does. That's what we did. And it would be fair for me to fight and stand up. I'd kill him. So, yeah. But for the mixed part of it, where that's where his game is and that's where mine is, then I think that's where it should be done.
Awesome. Nice.
Very nice.
What do you think, Tom? Amazing.
It's amazing, man. When I heard that Ken was coming on to the show, I want to go back in history, man, and I'll ask you a few questions about the history, because you're one of the first guys, Ken, that I saw perform a heel hook or a knee bar. And I know this is probably going way back, but today it seems like in grappling and MMA, mainly in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and submission grappling, that leg locks are coming back onto the scene in a real popular way. JC knows this. But you were doing these leg locks, the heel hooks, and the knee bars way back in the day. Where did you first see these leg locks? Who was the first guy? I mean, you saw it on video. Were you here in the U.S.? I mean, how did this work out? How did this work for you?
Yeah, I had actually did a tryout in Japan where they flew me up, and this one when UWF was going, and I went in and I did a tryout and I rolled with about 4 different guys, and I remember being choked unconscious, being heel hooked, and this was in '89, before anybody ever saw any of this stuff, and so I flew over there with not even knowing what I was getting into. You know, it was supposed to be this fight thing. I saw videos of it, but I didn't understand it. So I go into this dojo and I go against about 4 different guys for about 20 minutes for each of them. And I literally just, the first 2 guys were young boys and I pretty much handled them. But the next 2 guys, the last 2 guys, which was Minoru Suzuki and Masakatsu Funaki, and they were just starting out, they literally just beat the snot out of me. And I'd never been handled. I mean, I've always been a pretty tough guy. And I'd never been handled, and these guys handled me like nothing, especially when they took me to the ground. They choked me, they armbarred me. But the one thing I remembered was that leg lock. It was like when they put it on, I didn't know where to attack. I didn't know how to, like, what are they doing? And next thing I know, my knee's going to get blown out. And I'm like, you know? And so for me, I thought, I got to learn that because I was so confused on, like, how do I stop that? And so I learned that first. And if you watched any of my career over in Japan, you know, I broke probably about 4 or 5 different guys' ankles doing that heel hook. I learned it fast.
Same story happened to me, but I wasn't in Japan. I was here in Vegas. You're like, somebody got me in a leg lock, and I was like, what is this?
Right.
And I fell in love with that. So same story, man. I can relate to that.
Yeah.
So Ken, when I watched your first Pancrase fights, how long did you study the submission game, and who did you study under before you stepped into one of those Pancrase fights?
Yeah, I had only probably 3 weeks. I worked out in Japan. I actually flew in before, once they said they wanted to put me on the show after the tryouts. So I flew in 3 weeks prior to the event. I trained for 3 weeks. I went in, I won my first one. But I would stay over in Japan. I mean, I pretty much lived over there the first couple of years because there was nowhere to train here in the States. You know, you couldn't get anybody to let you take them down if they were a striker or a wrestler that you punch at them. So I had to do all my training over there and stay and train months at a time before my events and fight. And then I would win, and then I'd fly home for a couple of weeks, and I'd come back a couple of weeks before the event and train and get ready for it. So it was tough until I developed the Lion's Den, and then that's when I started training people from the U.S. Before the UFC ever started. I started training guys to go over and help me train for that fight, and so that's really how the Lion's Den started. But that's how I really got my first start, and I started working right away with Funaki. Even in the UWF, and Suzuki worked with me a little bit too, but I was a little bit bigger than he was, but Funaki was more my size, so we worked out quite a bit. Another guy named Takahashi, which is another guy that came in a little bit later, me and him worked out together quite a bit. He also became a champion. So yeah, that's how I got my start, and that's how I really got good at doing the leg locks and the submission game, was because I pretty much lived over in Japan for a while.
I love it. I love it.
Nice.
Hey, and what would you say from those leg locks that you guys were doing back in the day? I'm sure you've watched Gordon Ryan and different guys that are doing it today.
Yeah.
What would you say the main difference is in the evolution of leg locks, or is there?
Yeah, there is. I think setups are just, I mean, they're very unique now. I mean, everybody's coming from all these different angles and different setups, and even different angles of these legs that you're able to attack too. So I'm glad to see it coming back, because I've always said that it was a shame back in the day when this was taken off, that whenever you would go to a grappling tournament, they would say that, you know, leg locks were illegal, and they're saying they were too dangerous. And I kept thinking, you mean dangerous than getting punched in the head or kneed in the head or kicked in the head? I was like, that don't make sense. But okay. But it slowed down the process of where leg locks could be at today.
Dude, where do you think, Ken, when you think about it, Where did these leg locks come from, man? Was it like early days on the battlefield? I mean, where does this kind of stuff come from? I always wonder about that.
It's a catch wrestling style. Carl Gotch is the one that I think that really, especially back in I think it was the late 40s and 50s, where they were doing these catch style wrestling stuff, and that Carl was really a master at it. And then he's the one that taught the Japanese. And then, of course, I learned from Carl, too. He came down a couple of times and worked out with us, showed us some stuff. And, of course, it just developed a lot more since then because he had the original Achilles lock, the original heel hook and knee bar. But they were very, very straightforward. Of course, now we see it's so intricate now and so technical now that it's just crazy on how many ways you could get them. But Carl's the one that really actually brought it up, and I think that it was in that his catch wrestling style.
Carl, I'm gonna have to do some research on Carl.
Yeah, Carl Gotch. Yeah,
I've heard about him, but I did not know that.
Yeah.
Have you ever trained with the gi, Ken?
No. I went to Machado's. Well, when I say I trained with the gi, I did, but not like train with the gi to actually do it. I did it because when I got beat by Hoist the first time and I felt, robbed because they took my shoes away and let him wear his gi, I felt just like completely robbed. And so I went in to Machado's down in LA, and me, Funaki, and Suzuki went down there, and we basically rolled with those guys with the gi on. And once I understood it, that's when I actually fought Hoist the second time, even with, I think it was 6 or 7 months of training to figure out how to stop a guy who had done it for 24 years and then had 50 years of his family behind him. I had to go into a fight with 6 months of training with the gi. It was one night of training with the gi, but then we would work on it with the Japanese after that for Pancrase, for Funaki and all them to get me ready for the next fight with Hoist, which was 6 or 8 months later, I believe it was, to be able to go with a guy like that and stop him. Because people say I was just bigger. No, I wasn't. I was only 10 or 15 pounds heavier than him. He was like 2 inches taller than me. So it wasn't like there was this huge difference in weight, because it wasn't like they were trying to say he was 160 pounds. And, it's just all stupid, right? It's just crazy the way they push that stuff. But again, like I said, it was 6 months, and I had to go in there and beat a guy that was, there's no question, his skill sets were much, much better than mine in this type of fighting.
UFC 5 was it was something else. I believe it was UFC 5 was your rematch with Royce Gracie.
Yeah, I don't remember which one it was, but it was difficult too, because people wanted to know, well, how come I didn't move as much? We didn't have knowledge, man. I mean, I'm trying to figure this thing out on the fly. I taught myself because there was no trainers to go, hey, how do we do this or how do we do that? Because nobody knew it. Like it was a Gracie style. It's like they had used the gi and the striking all in a different manner, and it was all something from their father they brought here to the U.S. to showcase it. So we didn't have an understanding of how to do it, so I had to figure it out by watching tape and by going in and doing stuff and finding places to where I felt safe and not move too much, where I'd open something up where I didn't understand how he could catch me. So it was really a strategic plan for me to get into the fight long enough to wear him down, to beat him down to where he was so tired that I could just dominate him. And unfortunately for me, that was one where they first put in a time limit, because I trained for a 2-hour fight. If you watch that fight, I was fresh, man. My plan had been working because he was wore out. I was pounding his body, little shots to there, little headbutts to the head, keeping pressure on him by pushing my hands down on his belly, staying in the guard, and just forcing him to work more than me like they do to everybody else. And by the time we got to the halfway mark where they restarted, he was exhausted. That's where I caught him with the punch. And that he was starting to wear down where I wanted him to. And, of course, the time ran out. So it's hard for people today to look at that and go, man, that's a boring fight. And in my opinion, it was to today's standard. But if you look back in that day, you had to understand we didn't know how or where they were going to attack us from. So I had to develop a system in where I didn't expose myself until I was ready.
What you did show, though, what I saw out of that fight, that's MMA really turned a corner with that fight, because Hoist was catching everybody in his guard. Anybody that got caught in between that man's legs, was getting caught in some type of an arm bar or a triangle or some type of submission, you showed it was possible to be inside the guard and not get submitted and do damage at the same time. You really saw the corner turn with MMA, and the fights really changed from that point on with ground and pound. I thought that was very important.
Yeah, it was, because I think that, you know, a lot of people say Mark Holman, you know, developed ground and pound. He didn't. I did.
That was the first one.
Hoist. That was it.
The first one.
But what I can say is that Mark Coleman definitely is the godfather of ground and pound, because he's the one that made it effective. I used it as a defense to wear Hoist out so that I could get him tired and then beat him.
Awesome.
I feel like you show us how to stay composed and keep our elbows in, arms in, instead of exposing our arms. So that's what I noticed on those. I think the fight that you were talking about was UFC number 5, where you throw the right cross and you cut him up, and then you start doing headbutts. But you were like very patient with your arms tucked in. We call it T-Rex arms, you know, T-Rex arms. And then boom, boom, and then headbutts, and then boom. So that's kind of it. Start taking those little details right now. Right now, we using it right now. Of course, back in the days, like you say, they didn't have the rule set that said, hey, you cannot stay here for long or anything. But you didn't know how they was gonna attack you, stuff like that, because there was no much tape or videos about it. And I think thanks to you, like, it take that route. Like now, like everybody understand, keep your arms tucked in, be effective, patience. That's good, man. Like you paved the way for that.
Yeah, and it was something that basically I had developed myself. Like I figured, like, well, I'm going to sit in his wheelhouse and let's see if he can submit me, because I felt like I was good enough to be able to keep his hips flat, be able to put pressure on his stomach and wear him out. And then when he wore out, then I could go ahead and attack him. But unfortunately, that was the first time that they put in a time limit, and they didn't tell us up until the 24 hours before the fight that they were going to have a 30-minute time limit. So I couldn't change the way I had trained to prepare for the fight.
Yeah.
Lots of trickery. Lots of trickery. Hey, how did these Rorion Gracie was the one running the UFC at the time?
Yes. Yeah, he was the matchmaker, and it was funny too, because he would change the rules. I mean, when I fought Hoist and they said there was a 30-minute time limit, I was like, okay, whatever. I trained for a 3-hour fight, whatever. When the fight was over, it ran the time. The time was up. Rorion comes out of the crowd and says 3 more minutes. I mean, this literally comes out when we had already agreed on it, contract was done, and says 3 more minutes. And I said, yeah, but his brothers were looking at him saying, because Hoist was wore out, there's no question. And that she kept saying, no. And his brother says 3 more minutes. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm good. I'm ready to go. That's when I was able to catch him with the punch. And then I started to take over on him in that last part. And then when the time ran out, I jumped up and I said 3 more minutes. Like I wanted 3 more minutes, and they wouldn't give it to me. But they gave it to him.
That's how they do it, my man. That's how they do it.
That's crazy because I think, I'm assuming that like they didn't have all those crazy rules, but it should be like fair for like the way you agree. That's how it's supposed to be. You cannot be changing like the rules. Because I tried whenever I got whenever me and my opponent fought on the BK1, I told him like, come back, let's do it again. Like I'm still here, like come back, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it because that was the rules. So I'm assuming they shouldn't do that back then either, you know?
Yeah, because you know as well as I do, Lamas, that when you train for a specific fight and fighter, it's a big problem when they change the fighter on you, right? Because you're fighting a certain style, and you see so many upsets happen when an alternate comes in or another fighter comes in 3 weeks before the fight or 2 weeks before the fight, and everybody's saying, well, the other guy hadn't trained, he's not going to be in as good a shape. But what they don't realize is the other guy was focused, training, and preparing for a certain type of fighter, and all of a sudden you've just taken that away. It's a mental process now. Now you're like, what? Now what I got to do? What kind of fighter is this guy? Now everything is off.
Yes. Yeah, 100%. Sometimes you prepare for a right-hander and you end up fighting a lefty, or you prepare for a boxer, you end up fighting a wrestler. So it changes the whole thing. Like, it shouldn't be like that, man. I 100% agree with that.
Archie.
Archie's mute.
Archie, we can't hear you, my brother, for some
You're
reason.
moot.
There you go.
Hey, Ken, are you still training people, Ken?
No, I had my gyms. I had them all over Australia, South Africa, different places. But it got to a point to where I was chasing those quarterly fees all the time. I was making more enemies than friends.
Right.
And so I just ended up selling it. I just didn't like the feel of going after money and stuff like that. So I ended up selling it. And now I turned the Lion's Den. It's now a Lion's Den ministry where I go out and do motivational speaking. I work with at-risk kids and I help people. So I've turned that into a ministry.
Man, I love that. Talk about that a little bit, bud.
Wow.
That's something else. I didn't know about that.
Yeah, I've kind of committed my life to the Lord at a young age. Even though I didn't have the opportunity to really grow the way I wanted to, I got into all kinds of trouble. Even as I was a pro, I lived a pretty wild life. But I always knew who I was inside, and I always kept trying to fight to get back to that person. And I was able to do that and square myself up, get my feet grounded again, and be able to now, since my career I've had such a great career and I've been blessed in so many ways that I have an opportunity to be able to turn around and help other people find their goals and find their dreams. And so even as young kids, when they're speaking at juvenile halls and churches and different places to the youth, being able to talk to them about obstacles and things that they're going to face growing up, because I did, and to be able to have them understand that it's okay. I mean, you ain't perfect. It's okay. Yeah, don't get down on yourself if you mess up. Just try to not make the same mistakes over again. And if you do, then try to make sure that you set yourself up the next time not to make them as bad, because there are some that you do over and over again and you don't want to do them, but for whatever reason, you can't stop it. Like, for instance, if you have issues with eating stuff you're not supposed to eat, and it's just tempting, so you keep doing it. But the worst thing is to beat yourself up over it, to constantly keep hammering yourself about it. You know what you got to do, and you know what it is. And so maybe next time when you get tempted like that, eat half. Don't eat the whole. So that way you're not completely taking it away, and it's challenging yourself even more not to do it. So just put obstacles and challenges. With those obstacles, put challenges in front of yourself that you know they're achievable, and not ones that you know they're going to be impossible to achieve.
Wow,
that's awesome, man. That's absolutely amazing. Right now, Ken, I got buddies and we got young guys out there and all over that are thinking about taking that step and jumping into fighting. Around here in the Central Valley, there's all types of outlets for MMA, professional, amateur, boxing, jiu-jitsu, mixed martial arts. What advice would you give to a young man that's getting ready to step and hop into the ring?
Yeah, and I say this 100 out of 100 times. You may be the best guy in the world. You may have all kinds of abilities, and everybody knows that you're going to reach the top. But there's things that you don't see coming. Injuries are the biggest one. When you get an injury, you may not be the same fighter again, and therefore you won't be able to achieve those goals. So what do you have planned for that situation? Are you ready to step into a job? Are you ready to go back to doing something if by chance you're not able to achieve the goal that you set out to, which is be a professional fighter, because of something that may happen that causes you not to be able to do that? I'm not talking about ability, because you can have the desire in your head and absolutely know that you're going to make it. There's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, you got to make sure that you have something to fall back on, because otherwise you're going to end up in the unemployment line.
Yeah.
It's Archie, you're back.
Yeah, no, I was going to ask you, Ken, you always talk about, and we see it, not just talk, but we see your conditioning, how amazing it is. You talked earlier about, you're ready for 2 hours, and they only gave you 30 minutes and you wanted more. Okay, I know it's no secret. It's all about the 4-letter word work, but what is your best conditioning regime that you do that works for you?
Yeah, right now is where I'm at in my life right now is rest.
Wow.
I think, there was a point in time where I was training so much that my body was just wore out. I was getting injuries. It looked like my skin was tired. It looked like my face was old. I just look wore out. And you'll see a lot of fighters that look that way. And even though they're still training and they may look good, but the closer you get to them, you see the skin is old, it's weak, face is old. It's because they don't realize that, listen, it ain't about how much time you put in the gym. It's the quality of time that you put in the gym. Therefore, if I go in and I work out 2 or 3 times a week, I give myself at least 2 or 3 days to rest in between each workout, because your body is going to respond much better when it has time to rest. If you do it the other way, where you constantly keep pushing yourself to train, it just gets tired, and then you don't want to be there. And then when you go to work out, you're pushing yourself, and you don't get the best workout because you're not into it. So I would say for people who are, in their 40s or 50s, it's rest, and then making sure you're eating right and rest. That way, when you go in for the time that you're going to work out, you're dedicated, you're motivated, and you're going to get a great workout, and then step away for 2 days and then go back and do it again.
Ken, do you do any type of rehab on like cryotherapy, massage, sauna, steam room, jacuzzi? Like, do you do anything of that for yourself?
Yeah, massage is always good. Trigger points and releases and things like that. Just a chance for your body to actually relax and let the muscles loosen up. But the biggest thing I think for me, especially, was 5 years ago. I was 51. I went and did a bioaccelerator. It's a stem cell treatment in Medellin, Colombia.
Oh, nice.
And I'm telling you, man, it was like, and I don't believe in a lot of stuff where they tell you it's going to be great and you go and do it. And it's, it works a little bit, but it's not like mind boggling. This stem cell stuff is mind boggling. I mean, on how well it works. I mean, I was a new person. I mean, I literally was jumping over top ropes and doing all these different stuff where I felt young and I felt healthy and I felt energy, and the irritation and stuff in my body was gone, and I just felt renewed.
Yeah, Henry Cejudo and Diego Sanchez just recently talk about how they've been also to Colombia, and they've been, across seas to look for that stem cell, and they talk like it's miracles.
Yeah, I did it myself. I did it myself too. Here in Bakersfield, though, I didn't go to Colombia, but it does work. It does work.
It works, but I'm telling you, brother, trust me on this, man. They don't get, and it does work. That's what I'm saying. But imagine if they give you, thousands and thousands of these cells in your system to rejuvenate it, because here they have a quota. They can't put a certain amount in there because of the laws. When you go over there, they don't have that. So they give you what you need. And so it's much different effect, man. I'm telling you, because I've done it here, which is different, and it works, right? I mean, it does work and you feel good, but it's no different than taking an anti-inflammatory. It works for a little while and you feel great. The difference with the other stuff that when you go to Colombia is there's no stipulation on how much they give you. They give you what is going to work, and they give you enough to make sure it's going to work. So for me, it was night and day compared to the U.S. as opposed to over there where they didn't have these laws to stop you from getting what you needed.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Wow. Tom.
I wonder if it'll ever be like that over here.
It's hard because we have so many regulations and laws and some of these other places, which, people will go, well, yeah, but what if they give you something that's going to make you sick? So, yeah, there's risks. You understand that. You know that. But when you're going to a place where it's a medical place, where there's research going on and that they're certified, you're more than likely pretty safe.
Yeah. Right. I think here in the U.S., for the stem cells, I think it's like 3 million per shot. Over there, you can get like a 10 million per shot.
That's what I got, 10 million.
Yeah. So it's a different. Also, price-wise, here in the U.S. is way more expensive than it's in Colombia.
Oh,
well, Colombia was awesome, and they, especially if you're an athlete and you call over there, and again, if you want to try it, you can use my name. It's BioAccelerator. They usually give you discounts, and if you've been referred by anybody that has gone there and done it, they give you discounts and stuff. So if you want to try that, man, I'd be willing to hook you up with it, because it's a miracle, man. It's amazing.
Wow,
we're gonna talk about that, you and me, Ken, eventually. I'm interested in that.
Yeah, I think you're man, you would be going, dude, that was like unbelievable, because that's what had happened to me. I was like, because I was skeptical. I was like, yeah, I hear that stuff all the time, but I went and tried it, and oh my god, I was like, the only problem is like the next day I woke up, man, I couldn't put my clothes on because I got them in both shoulders, I got them in my neck, my lower back, my knees, and I was so dang sore that I couldn't move. I couldn't get dressed. So they warned me. He said, "You're going to be sore," and I was sore.
How many days?
How long did it take? How many days did it take after before you felt it?
I felt it right away. The inflammation part, I felt the inflammation gone. But as far as the actual soreness in the joints and where the scar tissue and everything is, that probably was about 30 to 40 days. But how it works is it releases in a 6-month time period. That it's each time you start feeling better and better, and then within 6 months it's in a full effect.
Yeah,
awesome.
Whenever I got mine, like I was thinking like my knee was hurting like crazy, and then like just one day I woke up and I don't even thought about my knees because I didn't feel no pain. I was like, oh, my knees are fine. When did this happen? That's how it happened for me.
Well, that's what they tell you too, is to think about a place that if you're having issues with right now that's sore, and then when you wake up, you have to think about it because you won't know it, like because it'll just kind of be gradually gone. Yeah. So you have to focus on it so that way you can remember what it felt like, so that when you start getting the effects, you're going, oh yeah, it's working.
Yeah,
nice,
100%.
Very nice. Well, Guy, hey, I can't leave this show without this question here, because some of our fans out there are big fans of WWE and Impact and professional wrestling, Ken. And I just noticed a few days back, I saw on Twitter, it looks like you got inducted to the Impact Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I did. That was this weekend. I went down and had a match, a good match on a pay-per-view event. And then the day before, not the day before, but the hour before that, they did a segment on inducting me into the Hall of Fame. And The Rock actually did an induction for me. Mick Foley did an induction for me, and Bret Hart did an induction for me. And there's a few others that didn't get on that had done it too. So I'm going to get those out on my social media sites so they can hear those too.
Awesome.
That's
Congratulations,
awesome,
man.
Congrats to that. Hey, the professional wrestling, Ken, was that something that you were always into, even during your MMA days?
Well, actually, the reason why I got into it was because my dad brought it to my attention, because I had 3 different gyms. I had a grappling gym, I had a kickboxing and boxing gym, and then I had a strength and conditioning gym. And I was taking care of all that. And then I had a fighter's house with 7 fighters in it, and I paid for all that, food and everything, training. And then, of course, I had a group home for kids that had 10 boys in it. And I was paying for that, at-risk kids, trying to get them on the right path. And then, of course, I had my own house where I was taking care of my family. And so it got to a point to where the UFC couldn't pay me what I needed. And that was back when Bob Meyerowitz had been running that organization. And so I had to go out and try to find something that I could actually continue to keep these gyms and the fighters and everybody going, the kids and everybody going. So I had to sacrifice my opportunity to be able to follow what I was doing and go do something else in order to pay all these bills. And so I did that, and not knowing I would fall in love with pro wrestling and know that it's my love now, I love it. But I didn't know that at the time that I made the sacrifice to go do that to keep everything up and running. So that's how that happened, was more of a necessity because I couldn't pay the bills to keep all my business up and running.
Wow.
That'll work.
I have a question that a lot of people is asking me, Ken. Which organization pay the most? Bellator, Pancrase, UFC, wrestling? Which one pays the most? I got like 4 people asking me that.
Yeah, for me, I was fortunate that, wherever I went, I got what I wanted. So I didn't have to sacrifice pay. So, I would negotiate what I thought was fair. And then we would just go from there. So, and I thought that everybody that I had worked with, I don't have any complaints. There's obviously things that I wish that I would have gotten, now that I look back on it, and even in some of those times where I felt like, maybe if things were a little bit more transparent, I would have made more. But it is what it is. I am where I'm at, and I'm happy where I'm at. So I don't want to go back and hash those things out. But, it's been a great career for me. I've had a great time. And, right now I'm enjoying where I'm at. Got inducted in the Hall of Fame this weekend with wrestling. I'm already into the MMA Hall of Fame. So, now I'm just enjoying life, man. So, and I've been paid well.
That's awesome. That's awesome, man.
Not everybody can say that, man. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Ken, you have a few connections to Fresno area, the Central Valley. You fought here once before in the area. You also, Richard Goodman's a connection.
Yeah.
What memories do you have of the Central Valley, Ken? I mean, from out in our area here.
Yeah, actually, my mother and my son live in Modesto. So I go down there quite a few times. I got a good friend down there, Dan Freeman, who lives there, who was my strength and conditioning coach for a long period of time. And, even having those fights out there, in some of those times when we would have fights out there, there's just such a hotbed right there. You got LA on one end and Sacramento on the other, and everybody comes to the middle and converge. And it's definitely exciting having the North and the South converge. Northern California and Southern California. It gets interesting.
That's the best, right, Tom?
It does, man. And being right here in the Central Valley, like you just said, we get the best of both ends. And once this whole COVID thing's over, we'll get it going again. We got the casinos right here, and we got the promoters that are hungry. We got a lot of young fighters that are hungry. Yeah. We got the jiu-jitsu, kickboxing, boxing, and MMA. It's all growing. JC, what do you think, my brother?
I think it's good, man. I think, you know what, Ken? There's the Tashi Palace. I think that might be an option to get the Bernacle right there.
That's what I was thinking. Exactly that same thing, bro.
Yeah, we've actually opened the doors and had some talks with them already.
Oh, nice. With Mr. Jacob Jeff.
If that happened, I will sell personally over 1,000 tickets myself, man.
Oh man, you
not more, bro.
More.
Yeah, well, like I said, we're and I think that just to leave this on so people, it's on their minds that we're active, very active in putting together the 2021 Valor Bare Knuckle cards right now. We're in the process of locking down the venues. Once we get the venues locked down, then we're going to start going after the people that we're going to use for those. But we have to do all this in the proper way, because we made a mistake that second fight where we went to go do it, and we didn't have things all locked down as far as how the rules were and everything like that. And things just started to get changed and got weird on us at the end. And we just weren't going to budge on who we were as an organization and what our rule sets are. So we're going to eliminate those problems, and we're going to get things set and make sure that everything moving forward will be contractually, and that nobody can back out at the last minute with trying to change anything.
Nice.
That's awesome, man. I'm ready for that, man. I can't wait, man. I'm very excited now.
Well,
right.
Ken, man, we wish nothing but the best for you, bro. We won't take up much more of your time, but I want to thank you one more time for coming on to our show and giving us your time, bro. I know you're a busy guy, and it's been a real honor talking to you. Archie, JC, anything else, my brothers?
I just wanted to say, if I can add, Ken, thank you so much. You have so many different things going on, your ministry, you have your podcast, you have, just tell us a little bit about what you have going on, Ken. Also, do some shout outs or reach out to the different programs that you got going on for the community.
Yeah, we're doing my podcast. That's something that we're doing. You can find that on my KenShamrock.com podcast. We're launching that. It's been pretty fun. Talking just like this, old time stories, different things. When I was a bouncer at one time, talking about some of the fights that I got into as a bouncer. And so it's just some fun times, just reminiscing and just having fun, especially with COVID, with the way everything is with COVID. And it's just being able to go out, have fun, be entertained, tell some stories, and enjoy each other. So that's what I'm doing with my podcast. And also, too, we're also doing the Valor with our platforms with ValorBK.com. You go check that out, because you'll be able to follow on everything that we're doing at this point, so that you can keep up and stay tuned, because we will start announcing where we're going to be doing our next venue at here pretty soon. So follow us on Valor Bare Knuckle if you want to stay ahead on that. Also, too, just in anything that I'm doing right now, especially I'm doing stuff with Impact. I just got inducted in the Hall of Fame. We got a lot of stuff that we're doing on the side. You can always follow me through kenshamrock.com. We got all our information that new things that we're doing there. Obviously there was a book that had come out, some other things that we're doing right now too, that we want to make sure that anybody that's interested in following me, they know how to do that. So go to kenshamrock.com and check it out, man. That's it, brother.
Perfect.
Thank you so much, Ken. I really, really appreciate you being here with us, sharing all those amazing stories and all the updates with you and your organization, man. I'm really happy that you were able to make it, and I'm a big fan of your career, man. And I'm grateful for having somebody like you showing us how to do this thing, man. I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ken.
Exactly. Hey, those old UFC videos when I was back in college, man, and living in an apartment by myself. I'm just gonna say, man, those old UFC videos got me through a lot of boring nights, man. So thank you very much.
Listen, guys, thank you, man. God bless you guys. Have a great day.
All right, thanks, Ken. We'll see you.
Take care, brother.
Wish you the best, my brother.
Nice. JC, what a legend. Awesome.
Man, that was awesome. And everybody that's still live right now, watching us right now, please leave in the comments who should we bring next. Anybody, any celebrity that is involved in the martial arts or any entertainment, please let us know in the comments. Don't forget to go follow our page in facebook.com/MMA5Pass. Make sure you follow my homie RC Tobar, my homie Tom, also myself at JC Llamas MMA. Also, my new album, it has over 1 million streams in all digital platforms combined, man. In under 3 months, we already passed 1 million streams in iTunes, Spotify, all digital platforms combined. The music is hip hop, trap, R&B, a little bit of everything, English and Spanish. Is coming along really, really good. I have my new music video in YouTube, youtube.com/JC Llamas. In 2 months, we passed over 20,000 views. So it's catching up a lot of eyes, a lot of ears. So I'm really grateful for all of that. And thank you to all my fans that is also liking and sharing it. And man, I'm grateful. I'm blessed. Let's keep doing, man. Let's keep doing this, man.
Hey, Steve, one more. Take a look at this. This is our new MMA Fight Pass website. We have the website with the latest RSS feeds. I mean, any mixed martial arts news, this is the website to go to now. You don't need to go to MMA Junkie or what the other ones. We have the podcasts. We have the English podcast, Spanish podcast, the most recent news available to you. And not only do we have our podcast here as well on the website. Here we go. Familiar faces there. So it's all updated. We have jiu-jitsu news, MMA news.
Hey, is it open? Is it up and going now or what?
This is live website right now.
Perfect. The website's good to go now. It's ready to go.
Ready to go, man.
www.mmafightpass.com. It's at the bottom there.
Yeah. Also, I want to give a big shout out to all the sponsors that are helping us out with this. And if you guys want to be part of our sponsorship program for our website, our podcasts, our programs, please let us know, man. Let us know. You can contact any one of us, Archie, Tom, and myself, and we can get your brand out there, man, and advertise it like crazy.
Yeah, no, definitely. We have Pat Militich on deck also. That's kind of hopefully we'll get next week. So Pat Militich reached out to us, and he's looking to get on the show next week. We'll let you guys know once we confirm him. But there's a lot of big names we're talking to right now, so that's good.
Pat Militich, that's sick. That's a real legend right there. That's dope.
I mean, nothing but the legends.
That's freaking. That's something else, dude.
That's crazy. That's good.
Yes, sir. So, JC,
how many corners has Pat Militich been in?
Oh my gosh, he's been in some serious wars, Mr. Pat Militich.
Dude, that's dope, dude. Hey, yeah. JC, man, you got a lot of fans, bro.
I do a little bit, man. They keep growing, man. They keep growing, and I'm very grateful, man, that they keep supporting me and sharing our program and commenting. Like I honestly, my career couldn't be anywhere without them. Like I think it's a mutual relationship with me and my fans. I always try to talk to them as much as I can, and like a lot of people ask me personal questions on my inbox, and I try to answer all of them. Sometimes it's a little hard, but I try my best. And if I miss one of your messages, guys, I'm very sorry. I will get back to you very soon. And I'm really blessed, man, for all the love that I've been receiving lately, man. I thank you guys all a lot.
Hey, you do. Hey, JC, what's been the biggest thing that's helped you out with getting all these views?
I think a lot of contributing factors, man, because a lot of people know me from my music career. A lot of people know me from my fighting career. Some people know me from my breakdancing career. Some from my skateboarding career. So right now I'm trying to gather all those fans from different areas to put it all in one package and like send everything, because I have my athlete page for my fight. I have my music page for my music, and I have my personal page. So I try to get everybody just in one, so they know. I also do acting for people I don't know. I also do acting, so I've been getting some fans from the acting world entertainment. So I think thanks to things like that, it helped me gather more fans and more people to support whatever I do. It doesn't matter if I do cooking lessons, dancing lessons, a podcast, whatever it is. I have a very love connection with my fans, man.
Well, JC, thank you, man, for joining us, brother, because that definitely helped us out today. I really appreciate that. I can't even imagine how many views we're going to get because of that.
All right.
Oh, man, my pleasure.
Help.
My pleasure, brother.
This is great teamwork, you know, and hopefully we can bring something new here to the MMA world, not only by us doing our own individual things in the background, but you know, bringing in new technology and the best guests that we can.
Let's do it, man. Let's do it. All right, well, guys, I'm leaving right now. Thank you so much for having me here. Make sure you follow me at JC Llamas MMA. Everybody, leave the comments who you want next right here. No, maybe not next one or next interview, but leave us your comments and we try to make it happen, man.
You got it. All right, Tom. We'll check out
there. We'll talk soon. Everybody out there, thank you for tuning in. Love you guys, and we'll see you on the next show. Hopefully, Pat Mule tips. That's going to be sick.
That's it. We'll be working on it. All right, guys. I'll talk to you guys behind the scenes.
All right, amigos.